Hey everybody, so in this video I'm going to talk about 13 ways to not change the pedal at the piano. And I just thought this would be a fun way to help us to arrive at how to change the pedal at the piano, ultimately, of course. And in this channel I hope to share with you strategies, mindsets, insights, etc., often of my own creation, that I hope will help you in your piano playing, hopefully other areas of your life as well. So the first part of this is probably going to be a bit of a review of some basics of the sustain pedal that I talked about in a previous video. If you search David Chang sustain pedal, probably you'll find that video. And then I have some other ways as well too to not change the pedal. So I'm just going to go through in order. I have a little list here. So the first is to not change the pedal at all. And I'm just going to use a section from part A of Fewer Leaves. So this first way would be not changing the pedal at all. If I just keep the pedal held down the entire time, it's going to result in a great deal of mixing. So, of course, I do want to literally even attempt to change it so that I can clean up the sound. Second way to not change the pedal would be lifting the entire heel off of the ground. This feels very awkward. I'm not able to have very careful granular control over the foot. So of course, instead of lifting the entire foot or entire heel off of the ground, I want my heel to maintain contact with the ground as I change it. Third way to not change the pedal would be using the wrong part of the foot. I talked about using like the ball of the foot behind the big toe or so, maybe around here, maybe between the big toe and second toe around this area on my cute little socks here. So I would recommend using that part instead of, for instance, using like the very tip of your toes or maybe your entire foot, which would feel very clumsy. So yeah, if you do this, you can slip right off. If you do this, it is again very difficult to control. Fourth way to not change the pedal, lifting the foot too far off. This feels more tense in my foot overall, and it also is resulting in some gaps in the sound, apparently. So I still want to maintain contact with the pedal, even as I lift it all the way up. Let's see, I think this is number 5. Kind of related to the previous one, effortfully changing the pedal. So if I'm feeling like this feels awkward for a number of different reasons, but I'm like pressing using physical force on the pedal. I am, lifting with my foot tense. So it should feel very easy and natural. And if I am feeling effortful at all, it's probably because I'm keeping excessive tension in my leg or foot, and I should try to see like, oh, what does this feel like when I'm not doing anything? What does this feel like if I let gravity and momentum do most of the work? Way number 6 to not change the pedal, not putting down the pedal all the way. So this is resulting in little gaps in the sound, so I would like to put the foot down all the way to the bottom, so have the pedal in the complete down position in order to change correctly. Let's see, which number am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So the 7th way to not change the pedal is to change it too quickly. This is going to result in some mixing, and it can even produce this unpleasant sound here. So this would be if you change too fast. It should be as slow as possible while still being on time. And I'll go into this probably a little bit more in a sec, but it shouldn't be like lightning fast because it produces that unpleasant sound, and also it might not result in completely clean changing. Then we have changing the pedal too slowly. So I'm maybe putting the foot down so late that it might create gaps in the sound, it might create other types of mixing. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think that was the 8th way, changing the pedal too slowly to not change the pedal. The 9th way to not change the pedal is changing with stops or hesitancies in the movement. Let's see. So this would be like if I went up and then I waited here before I then went back down. Like up, wait, and then go back down. Let's see. It just doesn't feel smooth. Obviously, as I go through these different ways, it may be that I'm combining different bad habits together. So basically, ideally, you would want it to be just a smooth, like up-down motion, up-down motion. Earlier, I mentioned being as slow as possible while still being on time. So slow and smooth as possible. It can still be quite quick because you might need to complete the whole motion fairly quickly, but not like lightning fast with that unpleasant sound like earlier. So there's no awkwardness about it. There's no like up and then you wait and then you put it back down. If I change too slowly, that also resulted in other weird gaps or blendings and so on. So basically all of these different things result either often in literal gaps in the sound where it's not connected or sonorous, or it's resulting in like mixing of the different sounds, like different types of messiness. So that smooth up, down, like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you keep holding, up, down, you keep holding. So yeah, so there's some little nuances there. I think we're at way number 10. So the 10th way to not change the pedal is to change it incompletely. Let's say it's down all the way. This is a very, very common issue. So for a lot of students, maybe they do have the pedal down all the way, but when they change it, they only change it maybe half of the way or a quarter of the way. And it doesn't result in the sound being completely cleaned up. So you do want to lift it completely up to its starting position and then back down again, even while you maintain contact with the pedal. Changing the pedal early. This is probably one of the most common timing issues. This is the 11th way to not change the pedal. So if I change it early, let's see. So this should be early. I'm going like up and then down. So it's resulting again in little gaps in the sonorous sound, and it's resulting in some mixing as well, because usually you would want to go up down with the new sonority or the new chord. So usually you would play up down, up down, up down, right? So you would play this, and at the moment I play this next note, I'm going to go up down, up down, up down. But if I play up down, up down, up down, it's going to result in that mixing or weirdness. You can hear that like little blending or unpleasant mixing. So that would be changing the pedal early. So we don't want to do that. We still want to match it up. So we go up, down with the new sonority or the new measure or the new area where we want it to be clean. So we have these three notes, then we go up, down. We have up, down. Okay. Changing the pedal late. So this would be if I waited, I guess, too long. This isn't as common as changing early. But basically I'm playing this, I'm getting to a new area where normally we would change here, and I'm allowing mixing, and then I'm changing. Okay, this is kind of an interesting one because it is getting clean eventually, but it's just, we're allowing messiness to go on for a little while before we're like, okay, now it's clean. So that it's not ideal either. And then finally, I think that was the 12th way to not change the pedal. We have changing the pedal with some kind of a weird timing. So for instance, maybe we would play, and then we lift early, and then we put it down late. Yeah. It essentially results in the same type of thing, all of these different variations. So the 13th way to not change the pedal is changing it with some kind of weird timing. It still resulted in gaps and in mixing. So it's kind of a recurring theme. And I'm sure there's more ways to change the pedal incorrectly. But briefly, we had number 1, not changing the pedal at all. Number 2, lifting the heel off of the ground when you really wanted to maintain contact with the ground. Number 3, using the wrong part of the foot 4, lifting the foot too far off the pedal. 5, effortfully changing the pedal. 6, not putting the pedal down all the way. 7, changing the pedal too quickly. 8, changing the pedal too slowly. 9, changing the pedal with stops or hesitancies in the movement instead of it being nice and smooth. 10, changing the pedal incompletely. 11, changing the pedal early. 12, changing the pedal late. And 13, changing the pedal with some kind of a weird timing. So instead of all of those things, ideally we would be keeping the heel in contact with the ground, the correct part of the foot. We wanted to change all the way up, all the way down, but you're still maintaining contact with the pedal effortlessly, nice and relaxed. And we're changing it at exactly the right time and with a smooth up-down motion. So it's up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. And I'm not playing very... Now, I'm not trying to play super musically right now, just like kind of a basic touch, since we're just focusing on talking about pedaling, of course. I would say the most common issues, I mean, the lifting the entire heel off of the ground, that's like a fairly simple thing to fix most of the time. People sometimes just aren't aware that that's the case, I guess. The part of the foot, that can give you much better control if you make some adjustments onto the ball of the foot instead of your foot being too far in or out. But the most common ones are probably like incomplete changes, like the foot it's down all the way, but it's just changing only a quarter or half of the way. That's a more advanced technique that might be appropriate in special situations, but for now, I really advocate, unless you feel like you've really gotten the basics of pedaling really down, just getting your foot completely off and then completely back on, still maintaining contact with the pedal, of course. So not allowing for those incomplete, not really completely clean changes. And most people tend to be early. So when we have a certain chord or sonority or sound that we like, and then we have a new sound, whether it's a new chord or new area, but basically like you want a completely clean new sound that's not blending with the old sound. Usually like we have this, and then at the moment that the new thing happens, you would change your foot up, down with that thing. So the up happens with the new chord. So we have a chord, your foot's like this, and then at the moment that there's this new thing here, so your foot's down, then when this occurs, you would go up, down, right? So the up matches with the new thing. So at the moment you encounter the new chord that you play, your foot would go up, and then it would go down shortly afterwards. And usually people tend to be late, or early rather, which means that they lift their foot before the new chord happens, and then they put it down with the new chord. I'll just illustrate this super briefly. So we have this chord, and then when we have the new chord, instead of going up, down, up, down, up, down, notice the up is matched with the chord, up, down. People will tend to have this chord, then they'll lift up before the new chord happens, and then they'll go down, which is, they lift up, and then they'll go down. But of course, there's gaps in the sound, as opposed to this, where you go up, down, up, down. So that is one of the most common issues that I'll see with students, sometimes even intermediate, more advanced students as well too. So anyway, so I hope that these 13 ways to not change the pedal, it helped to show some more specific examples of things that you might be doing incorrectly. Are you guilty of any of these things? Maybe write in the comments below if you find there's one that perhaps you feel particularly called out on. And yeah, if you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, let people know about the channel, and looking forward to the next one.